Un anciano encuentra a un niño dentro de un tronco y escucha, me matará si lo cuentas. The forest was quiet, except for the soft rustle of leaves in the cold wind. An old man walked carefully along the narrow path. His name was Einar. He had lived in these woods for decades. He knew every tree, every stone, and every sound. But today, something felt different. The air was heavier, and the shadows of the trees seemed longer, darker. Einar had been collecting firewood for his small cabin. The sun was low, and soon it would be night. He liked walking through the forest. The silence made him feel calm, and the smell of the trees reminded him of his youth. But today, he was not calm. As he moved through the thick trees, he noticed a strange shape on the ground. At first, he thought it was just a fallen log, but something about it seemed unusual. It was hollow, and part of it looked broken, as if it had been opened from one side. Einar crouched down to examine it. He heard it then, a small, weak voice, almost a whisper. Me matará. Einar froze. His heart beat faster. He looked around. The forest was empty. No one was there. Only the wind moved the branches. He knelt beside the log. The voice came again, slightly stronger. Please don't tell anyone, or he will kill me. Einar's hands trembled. He had lived alone for many years. He had never heard a human voice so afraid. Slowly, he reached inside the hollow log. His fingers touched something soft. He pulled gently. A small child slid out. The child looked no more than 6 or 7 years old. His hair was pale, almost silver, and his eyes were large and dark, shining in the dim light. He was thin, dirty, and shivering from cold. His clothes were torn, and he clutched a small cloth around him as if it was the only thing keeping him alive. Einar's heart ached. He had seen children before, but never one like this. Something about the boy felt strange. His eyes were too large, and his movements were too careful, too aware. Yet he looked at Einar with trust, though also fear. Who are you? Einar asked softly, trying not to scare him. The child shook his head. I cannot say. He will find me. Einar understood then that this boy was hiding. Someone, or something, was after him, and the child feared that if he spoke, he would die. Don't worry, Einar said gently. You are safe with me. I won't let anyone hurt you. The boy looked at him with wide eyes. Promise? He whispered. I promise, Einar said. I don't. He helped the boy to his feet. The child was light as a feather. Einar lifted him in his arms, feeling how small and fragile he was. The forest seemed darker now, as if it was listening to their conversation. Einar carried the boy carefully, walking back to his cabin. He kept looking around. The wind whispered through the trees, but there were no signs of danger. Still, Einar could not shake the feeling that they were being watched. By the time they reached the cabin, the sky had turned orange and red. The forest was quiet again. Einar set the boy down near the fireplace. He quickly built a small fire to warm him. The boy sat close to it, shivering. Einar went to his cupboard and brought out a blanket and some dry bread. Eat this, he said softly. You need strength. The boy took the bread slowly. He looked at it, unsure if he should eat. Then finally, he took a small bite. His eyes never left Einar. You are very brave, Einar said, but you don't have to be brave alone anymore. I will protect you, the boy whispered. I don't have a name. Einar thought for a moment. Then, I will call you Lumo.
Lumo means light.
Lumo, he repeated softly. It sounded like he liked it. Einar watched Lumo eat. He noticed something strange. The boy's eyes reflected the firelight in a way that seemed unusual. They were too deep, almost glowing. Einar shook his head. Maybe it was just the fire. Where did you come from, Lumo? Einar asked carefully. The boy looked down. From far away, a place you cannot see. They want me gone. Einar nodded slowly. He did not need to know the details yet. He knew one thing. Lumo needed protection, and he would give it. As the night fell, the forest around the cabin became silent. Einar listened to the wind, the distant cries of animals, and the crackle of the fire. Lumo sat close to him, leaning against his chest. Einar felt a strange connection. This child was not just a child. He was something special. Lumo, Einar whispered, you can trust me. You can sleep here. I will watch over you. Lumo's eyes slowly closed. He shivered a little, but the fire and Einar's warmth comforted him. Einar watched him sleep. He could feel the fear inside Lumo, but also a quiet strength. The boy had survived something terrible. Einar thought about the words Lumo had whispered. He will kill me if you tell. Who could be so cruel? Who could want to kill a small child? He did not know, but he knew this. Whoever it was, Einar would face them if needed. He would not let anyone harm this boy. As the fire burned low, Einar looked around the cabin. It was small, simple, but safe. The walls were made of wood, the roof covered with thick leaves. There were tools and books everywhere. Einar had lived alone for many years, but he knew the forest and he knew how to survive. Tonight, he would use all his knowledge to protect Lumo. Hours passed. The wind outside grew colder. The trees moved, casting strange shadows on the cabin walls. Lumo stirred in his sleep and murmured something. Einar bent closer. Don't worry, Lumo, he said softly.
I'm here! The boy's small hand reached for Einar's. Einar held it gently.
He could feel the fear, but also a quiet hope. The boy believed in him, even if he had never seen him before. Einar sat by the fire all night, listening. Every sound made him alert, but nothing came close to the cabin. The forest was alive, but he and Lumo were safe, for now. In the morning, the sun rose over the forest. Light poured through the trees. Birds sang, and the forest seemed peaceful again. Lumo woke slowly, looking at Einar with curiosity. Good morning, Einar said with a small smile. You slept well? Lumo nodded. I was cold, but I am safe now. Yes, Einar said, safe with me. He gave Lumo some warm water and bread. As they ate, Einar decided it was time to ask more questions, but he would be gentle. The boy needed trust, not fear. Lumo, he said, tell me what you can.
Only if you want. You do not have to speak if you are afraid.
The boy looked into the fire, thinking. Finally, he whispered, I do not remember much. Just running and hiding, and the voice saying I must not be found. Einar nodded slowly. He understood. Some secrets were too dangerous even for a child to speak, but he also understood something else. Lumo was not an ordinary child. He was special. Someone wanted him, but why? That was a mystery he had to solve. The old man and the boy sat together as the forest woke around them. Birds flew, the wind moved the trees, and the world went on. But in that small cabin, two lives were now connected, Einar and Lumo. One old and wise, one young and mysterious. Together, they would face whatever was coming. Einar did not know the dangers ahead. He did not know who was after Lumo or why, but he knew this: he would not let fear stop him. Humanity, thought Einar, could survive even in the darkest forest. With courage, care, and wisdom, they could face anything. And tonight he had found a reason to fight again. For Lumo, for hope, for the light hidden in the forest. The morning sun warmed the small cabin, casting long shadows across the wooden floor. Lumo sat by the fire, staring into the flames. Einar watched him carefully, noting the boy's strange habits. Lumo seemed cautious about everything. He rarely blinked, and his eyes, large and dark, followed every movement with precision. Einar did not speak at first. He let Lumo eat his breakfast in peace: bread, some dried fruit, and warm water. But he could not ignore the questions bubbling in his mind. Lumo was not an ordinary child. His eyes, his behavior, the knowledge he hinted at, they all suggested something different, something beyond what Einar had seen in decades of living in the forest. Finally, Einar spoke. "Lumo, do you want to tell me where you are from?" The boy froze, small fingers trembling as he gripped his blanket. He shook his head slowly. I cannot. He will find me if I speak." Einar nodded. "Then you do not have to. But maybe you can show me something?" Lumo's eyes darted toward Einar. A small, almost invisible spark of trust passed between them. Slowly, he reached into his tattered clothes and pulled out a small, flat object. It was a strange device, smooth and metallic, with symbols etched into it. Lumo placed it carefully on the table. "What is that?" Einar asked, leaning closer. The boy looked at him, unsure. It helps me. Shows things. I do not know how to explain." Einar reached out carefully, touching the device. A soft hum vibrated through his fingers. Symbols glowed faintly, changing as he moved his hand across the surface. It was unlike anything he had ever seen. Lumo's voice was soft, almost fearful. I can make it work. Sometimes, but it is dangerous if someone takes it. That is why I hide." Einar understood. The boy's knowledge could be valuable or deadly. Whoever was hunting him wanted this device, and perhaps they wanted Lumo himself. For the rest of the morning, Einar and Lumo explored small lessons together. Einar showed him how to catch fish from the nearby stream, how to make simple traps for small animals, and how to recognize dangerous plants. Lumo watched everything carefully, absorbing every detail. Then, unexpectedly, Lumo spoke again. You are not afraid of me?" Einar smiled gently. "Why should I be afraid of a small child?" Lumo looked at him with wide, serious eyes. "I am not just a child." Einar nodded slowly. He had felt it from the beginning.
Lumo was different. I know.
"And that is okay. I will protect you no matter what." The boy's eyes glimmered with something almost human. Relief, hope, maybe even gratitude. He wanted to speak more, but stopped himself. Hours passed. The forest outside grew warmer, and sunlight streamed through the cabin windows. Lumo seemed more comfortable now. He explored the cabin carefully, touching objects and examining Einar's books and tools. His curiosity was insatiable. Einar watched him and realized something important. Lumo was incredibly smart. His mind worked faster than any child Einar had ever known. And yet, he lacked the innocence of ordinary children. He had seen too much fear, too much danger, too much loss. "You are very clever," Einar said softly. "But cleverness can be dangerous if you do not know whom to trust." Lumo looked down. "I do not know anyone to trust." Einar reached out and placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then trust me, I will not let anyone hurt you." The boy stayed quiet, but did not pull away. That was enough for Einar. By midday they had eaten again, and the fire burned brightly. Einar wanted to learn more about the boy, but he also knew patience was key. Lumo could not be forced to reveal secrets. He had to be allowed to trust on his own. Einar decided to teach him something different. He led Lumo outside to a small clearing behind the cabin. The ground was soft, covered in moss, and sunlight poured through the branches above. "Lumo," Einar said, "I want to show you something. It is called the forest. Everything here is alive. The trees, the wind, the animals. They all have stories. You can listen if you want." Lumo tilted his head. "Listen." "Yes," Einar said. "It is a way to know the world without speaking. You can learn many things if you pay attention." For the next hour, Einar taught him how to feel the wind, how to notice footprints in the soil, how to understand the birds' calls. Lumo was a quick learner. Soon he could sense movement in the distance, hear tiny noises, and even recognize the presence of small animals without seeing them. "You are fast?" Einar said, impressed. "I must learn," Lumo whispered, "to survive." Einar nodded. Survival had been his lesson too. All his life, he knew fear, but he also knew that courage came when you had someone to protect. And now Lumo needed him. As the afternoon passed, the bond between them grew. Lumo began to speak more, slowly. He told small stories, bits of memory about a place far away, strange cities, tall buildings, and bright lights. He spoke of voices that demanded obedience, of people in shadows who chased him. Einar listened carefully. He did not interrupt. He understood that every word was precious and dangerous. The boy's words were pieces of a larger puzzle, a puzzle that could explain why he was hunted. Then, near sunset, Lumo hesitated. I know you are old.
You may not understand, but I am not like other children.
I am different. They want me because of what I know. Einar's face grew serious. "Then we must be careful. But I can learn, and I can protect you. We will face this together." The boy looked at him. For the first time, he seemed to relax. A small, almost human smile appeared.
"You really mean it?" "Yes," Einar said.
"No matter what comes, I will not leave you alone." Night came slowly. The forest outside became alive with strange sounds. Hooting owls, rustling leaves, distant howls. Einar made sure the cabin was secure. Windows were closed, doors fastened, and the fire was burning low but steady. Lumo curled up on a small mat near the fire. Einar sat beside him, keeping a careful watch. He noticed that Lumo's breathing was uneven, as if he was dreaming. Small murmurs escaped his lips.
"What is troubling you, Lumo?" Einar asked softly. I dream of him, the boy whispered.
He, the one who will kill me, he is always there. Einar's heart tightened. He had suspected danger, but hearing it confirmed the truth. Someone was hunting Lumo, and this someone was dangerous. Einar knew he had to act, but what could an old man do against an unknown enemy? He had no weapons, no army, only his mind, his knowledge of the forest, and his courage. He looked at Lumo sleeping. "We will survive," he whispered. "I will keep you safe. No one will hurt you while I am here." The boy stirred and opened one eye. I believe you," he said softly. Einar smiled. "Good. Then rest. We will face tomorrow together." Outside, the wind whispered through the trees, carrying secrets of the forest and of distant lands. Einar knew that the world beyond was dangerous, but inside his cabin, there was safety, there was trust, and there was hope. Lumo's hand found Einar's again, small and fragile, yet full of quiet strength, and Einar realized that this child, so different, so mysterious, had already taught him something important. Courage is not about strength alone. Courage is about care, about protecting those who cannot protect themselves. For the rest of the night, Einar watched over the boy. Every sound, every shadow, every movement was noted. He did not sleep, but he was not afraid. He had found a reason to fight again. And Lumo had found someone he could trust. For the first time in a long time, he felt safe. The connection between them was growing, stronger than words, and Einar knew that the journey ahead would be dangerous, full of unknown threats. But together, old man and mysterious boy, they could face the world. Tomorrow would bring questions, dangers, and revelations. But tonight there was peace. Tonight there was trust, and that was enough. The fire burned low. The forest slept, and inside the small cabin, humanity and mystery sat side by side, ready to face whatever came next. The morning light barely broke through the thick forest when Einar stirred awake. He had spent the night listening. Every snap of a twig, every rustle of leaves, every distant bird call had been carefully noted. Lumo slept still, huddled near the small fire. But Einar sensed something different today. Something was approaching. He rose quietly and stepped outside. The forest was alive. The wind whispered among the trees, carrying a chill that was unusual for this season. Einar crouched and looked at the ground. Footprints, small light ones, and other, larger prints moving toward the cabin. Einar's heart raced, but he forced calm. He knew the forest like the back of his hand. He could use it to their advantage, but he also knew that whoever was coming was clever, too clever to be ordinary hunters. Back inside, he looked at Lumo. The boy stirred and opened his eyes. "Einar," he whispered.
They are coming, aren't they? Einar nodded. I think so.
"We must be ready." Lumo's face paled, but he did not move away. "I can help," he said softly. "I know things that can keep us safe sometimes." Einar studied him carefully. Lumo had already shown that he was not just a child. His mind worked quickly, and he remembered details that could make a difference. "Then we work together," Einar said. "You watch, I act."
Agreed? Lumo nodded. Together, they moved outside to the clearing.
Einar checked the perimeter. He set small traps in key areas, pits covered with leaves, tripwires, and simple alarms made from branches and rocks. Lumo helped, showing surprising skill, placing some traps in clever positions Einar had not thought of. By midday, the forest around the cabin had grown tense. The animals were silent. Even the birds had stopped singing. The wind had a strange, unnatural stillness. Einar felt it deep in his bones. Danger was very close. Then the first sign appeared. A branch snapped far across the clearing. Both Einar and Lumo froze. The sound was deliberate, not random. Someone or something was testing them. Einar whispered, "Stay low, Lumo. Watch quietly. Remember the traps." The boy crouched, his eyes scanning the forest. Despite his youth, he moved like someone who had survived worse than anyone could imagine. His hands were small but steady. His mind worked quickly, noticing patterns in the shadows, predicting movements before they happened. A figure emerged, tall, moving with unnatural speed and silence. Its features were hidden beneath a cloak, but Einar could see it carried something metallic, shaped like a weapon. It scanned the clearing slowly. Einar signaled to Lumo, and the boy dropped a small stone behind a bush. It made a soft click. The figure's head turned slightly, investigating, but it did not move forward. Someone had trained it to be patient, cautious, and precise. Einar whispered, "We are not dealing with ordinary hunters. This is someone who knows you, Lumo. Someone who wants you. Badly." Lumo's eyes darkened. I know. They have followed me before, always in the shadows, always watching. I almost died once. Einar's jaw tightened. Not today. Not here. Boo! The figure moved closer, testing the traps. Einar watched as one of his simple snare traps caught the foot of the intruder. There was a muffled grunt. The figure paused, then freed itself. Einar could see now that it was humanoid, but larger than a human adult. Its movement sharp and unnatural. Lumo's small hand touched Einar's arm. I can help," he whispered. He reached for his strange device and pressed it lightly. A soft hum filled the air. A thin, invisible barrier appeared between them and the approaching figure, confusing it for a moment. The figure stopped, unsure of where to move. Einar smiled faintly.
Very good, Lumo. You did that right.
The figure's head tilted. It seemed to sense something, then moved around the barrier, looking more carefully now. Einar knew that it was learning. Every second counted. Lumo whispered again, "They are fast, too fast. Einar. If they catch me, I cannot hide forever." Einar took a deep breath. "Then we fight smart."
We use the forest, and we use you.
Your mind is faster than theirs. You can think of ways to confuse them. For the next hour, they played a careful game of cat and mouse. Lumo placed small illusions using his device, shimmering lights, faint noises, while Einar led the figure into traps. Branches snapped, alarms triggered, and for a moment, the intruder hesitated. But it was relentless. Every time it was delayed, it adapted. Einar realized that whoever, or whatever, was after Lumo was cleverer than they had imagined. Finally, they retreated into the deeper forest, away from the cabin. Einar carried Lumo when paths became too difficult, and the boy suggested hiding spots and safe routes. They moved silently, hearts pounding, relying entirely on the forest to shield them. After hours of movement, they found a small cave hidden behind thick vines. Inside it was cool and damp, but safe for now. Lumo set his device on a rock and studied it carefully. They are learning, he whispered. They are not just following, they are studying, trying to understand how I hide, how I survive. Hanar nodded. Then we must change. We cannot be predictable. Lumo looked at him with wide eyes.
Einar, I can do something, but it is risky.
I can make them see things that are not real, confuse them. For a while, Einar studied the boy carefully. Can you control it? You must not hurt anyone by mistake. I can, Lumo said. But if I fail, they will find us anyway. Einar reached out and placed a hand on the boy's shoulder. Then we tried together. I will trust you, and you trust me. We will survive. Night fell again, thicker and darker than the previous night. The forest was alive with strange sounds, but Einar and Lumo remained hidden in the cave. They took turns listening for any movement outside. Every snap of a branch, every distant howl, made their hearts beat faster. Hours passed. Then a sound came closer. Soft footfalls, careful, deliberate, almost mechanical. Einar realized that this was not just a person hunting. This was a being trained to be perfect at tracking, designed to hunt Lumo efficiently. Lumo whispered, They have come before. They are not normal humans. I think they are altered, enhanced, stronger, faster. Einar swallowed hard. Then we must rely on our brains, not just our strength. You and I, together we are smarter than they expect. The boy nodded, his hands on his device. He whispered strange commands, and the device hummed, sending out tiny pulses that made the forest shadows twist and move. The intruders outside hesitated, confused by the illusions. Einar watched Lumo, awe filling him. This small boy, so young and fragile, was capable of things beyond imagination, and yet he was still human, or something close to it, something that deserved protection, care, and trust. Hours passed in silence, broken only by distant sounds outside the cave. Einar kept watch, his old eyes sharp despite his age. He knew this night was only the beginning. Whoever hunted Lumo would not give up. They were relentless, but Einar also knew one thing. They had underestimated him. They had underestimated humanity's ability to protect the vulnerable. As dawn approached, the forest began to lighten slightly. The intruders had not found them. For now, they were safe. Einar allowed himself a small sigh of relief. He looked at Lumo, who was exhausted but alert. You did well, Einar said softly. You are strong. Stronger than they know. Lumo looked at him, a faint smile on his lips. Feel safe with you, Einar. Even if they come again. Einar nodded. Then we will be ready. We will learn, we will adapt, and we will survive. Together. For the first time, Lumo seemed to relax completely. He leaned against Einar, exhausted, trusting the old man completely. And Einar realized something important. This boy had not just been found. He had chosen to trust him. That trust was a powerful weapon, stronger than any trap, stronger than any device. The forest outside was quiet for now, but both knew the danger was far from over. Someone, or something, was hunting Lumo, and it would not stop until it succeeded. But for the first time, they were not alone. Together, old man and boy, they could face anything. Einar watched the forest, thinking of the challenges ahead. He would need every ounce of wisdom, patience, and courage he had. But he was ready. Lumo had survived because of his courage, but now he would survive because of them both. Humanity's courage, intellect, and compassion combined. And in that moment, Einar knew one truth. No matter how powerful their enemies were, no matter how fast or strong they seemed, they could never outmatch human determination, ingenuity, and care. For Lumo, for hope, for survival. The cave was cold and dark. Even as the morning light began to filter through the vines, Einar stirred first, stretching his stiff back. Lumo was still asleep, curled in a small bundle, his breathing shallow and steady. But Einar sensed something shifting. The boy's dreams were restless, and the air seemed heavier than before. Einar sat quietly watching him. He had learned much in the last 2 days. Lumo was no ordinary child. He was clever, aware, and cautious. But there was more, something hidden inside him, a knowledge or a power that made him valuable and dangerous. Einar had to understand it before their pursuers returned. When Lumo finally woke, his large eyes were alert. "Einar," he whispered, I need to tell you something. You need to understand, or we cannot survive." Einar nodded. "Then tell me, Lumo. I am listening. Nothing you say will frighten me." The boy took a deep breath. I am from a place far from here. Not just another city or country, another world. Humans there, they do not know me. But the people hunting me, they know everything. They are different, enhanced. They want me because of what I know, because of what I carry." Einar frowned. "What is it you carry?" Lumo reached for his device. The metallic surface shimmered in the dim light. It contains knowledge. Knowledge that can save or destroy worlds. I do not fully understand it yet, but they do. I. Above, that is why they're hunting me. They want to control it, or erase it. Einar swallowed hard. He had faced danger in his life, but nothing like this. He realized that Lumo's survival was not just a matter of running from hunters. It was about protecting something far greater than either of them. "Then we must be careful," Einar said, his voice steady. "We cannot let them find you, but we will not hide forever. We must find a way to protect this knowledge and to use it wisely." Lumo looked at him, eyes wide with fear and hope.
Do you understand? This is bigger than both of us.
"If they catch me, entire worlds could be lost." Einar nodded. "I understand enough, and I promise we will survive. Together." The boy seemed to relax slightly, though the tension in his body did not disappear. He reached out to Einar. "You really mean that?" "Yes," Einar said. "I have protected many things in my life, Lumo, but never something as important as this. We will face them together." The next hours passed quietly. Einar and Lumo moved carefully through the cave, checking the traps outside and planning their next steps. Lumo showed Einar small tricks with his device, creating illusions to confuse potential intruders. Einar marveled at the boy's intelligence and precision. "They are persistent," Lumo said.
They will not stop. They are not human. Not completely.
"They think faster, move faster, but they do not understand one thing. I am with you, and humans can survive anything." Einar smiled faintly. That is true. Humanity is clever, resourceful, and determined. You have survived this long because you are smart. But now, you are not alone. We are stronger together. As they spoke, a distant sound reached them, a soft, mechanical hum. Einar froze. He motioned for Lumo to stay quiet. The intruders were coming again, but this time they were closer. Einar could hear their movements through the forest, precise and deliberate. "We need a plan," he whispered. "We cannot keep running forever." Lumo nodded. "I have an idea, but it is risky, very risky. I can use my device to send a signal, a warning. It could reach humans on other worlds, allies who can help. But if I do it now, they might detect us immediately." Einar considered it. "We cannot stay hidden forever. If this is our chance to get help, we must take it. But we do it carefully." Together, they worked quickly. Now, Lumo activated the device, focusing intently. A low hum filled the cave, vibrating through the walls. Symbols glowed on the surface, forming patterns that even Einar could barely understand. The device sent a signal into the sky, invisible to human eyes but powerful and far-reaching. Outside, the forest seemed to react. Shadows twisted, leaves shivered, and the air grew tense. Einar watched the trees, alert for any sign of the intruders. For a long minute, nothing happened. Then, a figure moved across the clearing. One of the hunters, investigating. It stopped suddenly, confused, unable to see them. Lumo's illusions worked. Einar whispered, "Good. It is working. Now we wait." Hours passed, but the tension never left the cave. Lumo was exhausted, his small hands trembling as he focused on the device. Einar stayed beside him, offering support and keeping watch. He realized that the boy's survival depended not only on his own strength, but on the bond they shared, the trust, the care, the human courage that could overcome even the most dangerous threats. Finally, the device emitted a soft, final pulse. Lumo slumped, exhausted but relieved. "It is done," he whispered. "The signal. It should reach them. Humans who can help. But we must move quickly. They will come now with more force." Einar nodded. "Then we prepare."
We move. We do not wait for them to reach us.
They packed what little they had and left the cave, moving silently through the forest. Lumo's device hummed faintly, guiding their path. The forest was alive, full of shadows and sounds, but Einar's experience gave them an advantage. He led them through hidden paths, under fallen logs, and along streams, avoiding the open ground where the hunters could spot them. As night fell, they reached a ridge overlooking a valley. Below, they could see movement, shapes sliding through the trees. Searching, relentless, Einar's heart tightened, but he did not show fear. He placed a hand on Lumo's shoulder. "They are strong, but not smarter than us."
We have knowledge, we have the forest, and we have each other. That is enough.
Lumo looked at him, eyes shining. I trust you, Einar, always." The old man smiled. "And I trust you, Lumo. Together, we can face anything." They spent the night on the ridge, hidden among rocks and trees, listening to the hunters below. The wind carried their distant voices, soft but determined. Einar realized that this was more than a battle for survival. It was a test of human courage, ingenuity, and loyalty. Lumo shared more about his world as they rested. He spoke of cities in the sky, of humans who had ventured to other worlds, and of dangers that were beyond imagination. But he also spoke of hope, of humans who could understand, who could protect, who could fight for what was right. Einar listened, fascinated and humbled. Humanity, he thought, was capable of more than he had ever imagined. They could survive in the darkest forests, on the most distant planets, and against the most relentless foes. And now he had a chance to prove it once again, not just for himself, but for Lumo, for hope, and for all that was good in the universe. The first rays of dawn lit the valley below. Einar and Lumo remained still, waiting, watching. The hunters were clever, but they could not anticipate everything. The boy's knowledge, combined with the old man's experience, gave them an advantage no expected. And in that moment, Einar knew a truth that he had always believed. Human courage, intelligence, and empathy were powerful. They could face any threat, no matter how advanced, clever, or dangerous. For Lumo, for hope, for humanity. Tomorrow they would face the hunters again. But now they were ready. Now they had a plan. And together nothing could break the bond they had formed. An old man, wise and experienced, and a boy, mysterious and brilliant, united against the darkness that hunted them. The forest was quiet but not peaceful. The battle was not yet won. But Einar and Lumo had discovered something stronger than fear: trust, courage, and the unyielding power of human spirit. And that was enough to face whatever came next.